Ever wonder why some paintings just glow? It's almost like they're lit from the inside out, while others, they just kind of sit there. They're not bad paintings, they just don't have that glow, they don't have that life and energy. Or maybe you've wondered why some artists just use colors in a very different way, and no matter how hard you've tried to duplicate that, you can't seem to get it. I'm Pastelist Avon Waters, and welcome back to Art and Pastel with Avon. Today I'm going to show you how you too can find color combinations and start to use those combinations, break out of the habits that you've been in that haven't been working. I'm going to show you how you can make those color combinations and help your paintings become more vibrant, more brilliant, and more alive. You don't need to go into elaborate color theory to start making your paintings thrive. Color theory is great. Now there's no way I can fit a course of color theory into just a few minutes of a video here. But these simple exercises in just a few minutes of your time, whether it's every now and then or you set a schedule once a week, they are going to get you to where you want to go and make those paintings brilliant. We're going to start with some scraps of paper that you normally might use. Things that are this big, you might want to cut in half. Something small is fine, you don't need something huge. Even if it's toned, or a piece of paper that's stained from an old painting that you wiped off, that's all you need. So let me get one of these up here and I'll show you the first part of the exercise. This exercise isn't about you abandoning the colors that you already love. We're looking for those colors that somehow always end up in your paintings, always end up on your palette. Today I'm going to start with magentas. I've got a light, kind of bright magenta. I've got one that's got a mixture of different colors in it. Here's one that's almost maroon. This is a little darker, must have a little black or neutral gray in it because it's not as bright as these others. So I'm going to pick one of these and I'm going to start with that color. So find your favorite colors, pick one, and this is one example that you can try with all those different colors. I could do this exercise with all these different magentas, even some that are pale and light. If you always pair the same colors, I'm going to start by making a square in the middle of this one. If you always start with the same colors with your paintings, you're going to end up with the same results. So the goal here is take some of your favorite colors and figure out some different colors that you normally wouldn't use in your paintings. Just start with a square, and we're going to do two squares because we're going to treat one just a little bit differently. You don't need to know about analogous and all these other color theories. Learn them when you can. This exercise is about shaking up the color choices that you make. So by doing it on a practice sheet, it's not like, oh God, I don't want to pick this color and have it turn out wrong. You keep these practice sheets. Now I'm going to put a bright color next to this, something that you wouldn't normally do. I mean, reds and greens are opposite of one another. And we'll make an L shape out of that. The reason we're making an L shape is because I'm going to take another green, which is a blue-green this time, and I'm going to put it around this. And here you get to see three, not just two colors, you get to see three color combinations. You get to see the blue-green against the yellow that you might not have picked. You get to see this favorite color, how it works with blue-green and how it works with lime green. So you can see we've got a great big contrast, and that's because we're using complements, opposite colors with one another. Now on this square, you could also, on some of the edges, you could see bleed over and bleed some of this color in and see what some of the mixing is like. You could take this color and bleed in to your favorite color and see what the mixing is like. And that's where our second square comes in. We're going to treat this just a little bit differently this time. This time, we're going to come in and we're going to do mark making as though instead, this is more painting when you use the side of the brush, so to speak, or the canvas. So we're going to come in here and we're going to do some mark making. So we'll do our same square again, but this time we're going to take a diagonal and go across here this way. We'll put our other color on. And you're going to get a better sense of how, if you're not painting and blending like I did here, you're going to get a better sense of how mark making across these things, and keep them kind of parallel. You can cross hatch if you want. Look at that. Look how we're discovering these two colors together really create a vibration. They don't do anything in themselves, but we can come down in here and we can play with crosshatch. We can play with crosshatch this way. There's some great vibrations. We found two colors that will really vibrate well with this. And part of the reason is that this is a much lighter color at the end of the hue scale if we were doing values. And that both of these are opposites of the colors that are involved here. So without knowing what complements are, you get to play with it this way. Now, let's take another experiment. You can stack these things up as you do these. See, that didn't take long at all. It took me longer to tape this down, and you don't have to do that at home, than if we just did this on just a piece of paper, an old notepad. Now, on a second set, I didn't tear this in half because now you see why and how I'm using two pieces of paper. On the second set, we're going to show something different. How colors behave when they are layered and broken and vibrating. In our paintings, colors rarely are set in blocks next to one another. They are cross-hatched across, kind of like that second example that I did. And not everybody's comfortable using opposites. So let's use colors that are related to one another for all the choices we make, and see if we can't create some selections that are contrasting and more vibrant than maybe what we normally would use. Again, the goal here is you are trying to get out of your comfort zone. Pick a favorite color, and we're trying to create samples that you can find that color in your box the next time you get ready to paint a painting. There are going to be some combinations you want to save and remember and try in your next painting. And there's going to be some that are just like, you can throw the piece of paper away because it didn't work. Pastels come in thousands of different colors. These are the colors I'm going to use. They're next to one another on the color scale. There's a little lime green which has yellow and green in it. There is a muted kind of earthy green. There's another earthy green but a little bit brighter. There's orange. I love using orange. Here's red. Orange is made up of yellow and red, so we've got some yellow in this green. And here is a deep, muted, almost maroon red. I'm going to start with this kind of earthy. We use it in a lot of landscapes. There's different lighter versions of this. It's kind of a khaki green almost. So I'm going to make my squares out of that. And as I said, paintings don't normally have blocks, but you'll be able to see, because this time I'm going to use that mark making and see what colors can go over other colors. This is part of the layering process if you've been involved with it. Out in nature we have some brighter greens and darker greens, so I'm going to put a color down in here. And then I'm going to come up into here and see. Now you can barely see that mark making, they blend into one another. But if I pick a tinted green, and I go into this, there's a lot of contrast. This actually looks brighter than the stick itself. Let's see what it does up in here. So there is a contrast created there. And imagine what the lime green is going to do. I can go down into here and it's just way too bright for that other green, but what's it do into here? Probably a little too bright. We can go across this, too bright. What happens if we go the other direction? We put our colors in here. Not much difference. Let's try an unexpected color. Now green is made of yellow and blue, and orange has yellow in it. So that's related. Now I can come across here with a red. Red is in orange. And you can see that the mark making here creates some separation. What's it do in our green? Those are opposites. Look at that, it almost disappears. We had opposites in the last example and they didn't disappear. They contrasted. So you'll learn a lot just by playing with these. This is that one that's a tint, got a lot more white in it. You can see as we cross-hatch with that, there's a little bit of vibration in there. This is the one that had a lot of vibration with our earthy green. Those two mix well. And when you mix this over that yellow with that earthy, these two didn't go together. This yellow and this earthy, this yellow here, this yellow green, and our earthy didn't go together well at all. There's the brighter green, there's the earthy, but we discovered something. We discovered that lighter, paler, we're still in the greens, but that lighter, paler color going across the orange, it really makes a difference. And that's where you might put this yellow on the bright side of where a tree is, and the tree has this earthy color in it, or this earthy color in it, and it's just too big of a contrast. But think of layers. Think of, now let me grab something that's got a little white in it. It hardly shows up on that. It shows up a little bit on the earthy, but look what it does when you mix those together. It creates almost a middle tone to bring your tree to life. So you learn a lot with these samples. In landscapes, we often use a lot of blues for our skies and our water, and a lot of greens for our trees. Well, you got to figure out how those marry together, and these are exercises that will allow you to do that. This is almost a pale. This is a really dark value. It's more like the shadows of the trees. And this is more like the highlight in a sky. You can see it's a little bit blue, so we'll put some of that down there. Now let's try a darker blue up here at the top. And again, we're going to be mixing this, and I'm going to come over into this earthy. And I'll come down in here now and go into this earthy green. You see I get a little bit of mixing here with this blue, and I get this beautiful kind of a blue-green that's very muted, almost where you could make shadows. And I wouldn't have known that just by looking at those two colors. Now let me get a little brighter blue over here. Oh, let's get the right color. A little brighter blue over here. Okay, now let's see what our cross-hatching, when we start doing mark making on a painting, I get a real good contrast of blues up in here. I get way too much contrast, but we can see how they blend. Let's see what this blue does in here. We had a little bit of overlap with it here. Oh, it's a little brighter blue-green than what we got in this area here. We've got a lighter blue-green here. Now let's take that another blue and mix in here. This one we hadn't used yet. But let's see what happens. Now let's do it in this. We should get another blue-green, but how light's it going to be, and will it be pleasant? It is a blue-green, but it's very muddy. I don't like these combinations, but I like this combination with that one pale blue that we had down here, that pale blue, with this blue. Look how different they are, but when you put the two together, there's some interesting color, even with this blue. You can practice some shading in areas. There's all sorts of possibilities. But without doing these experiments, you're focused on, oh, what color do I need to make this tree? What color do I need to make this, this water or this rock? And you're too scared to be experimenting on your painting. You're going to be going back to your same old colors and fall into that same old pattern. And when you do the same thing over and over again, you're not going to get any different results. This is the only way, spending 5 or 10 minutes a week or a day or every other day playing with colors. This is the only way, by putting colors in a painting style next to one another, by painting in broad strokes like this, or by hash marks, practicing a little blending, seeing what colors you get. This is the only way that you're going to break out of that rut that you get in and you keep getting these dull colors. This is the way all of us artists figure out how to become more brilliant with our colors and the juxtaposition of them. One last thing. Everybody lays their palette out differently. It doesn't really matter. I lay mine out in values, as you can see here. Some people lay their palettes out in chroma. Others lay them out in dark to light. Here's a box of dark blue earth, and there you can see how they're all laid out. They're all laid out in an organization. And you look at my box and it's all messed up. And that's fine. Everybody has a different working method. These exercises still work. These exercises show you how colors laid beside one another. You'll find some that you just love those combinations. So keep those samples. And some of them you'll just throw away because it's like, well, what I'm doing is better than that. So play with those colors. It really, really, really makes a difference. You're going to get better. The more you do stuff, the better you get. So if you're getting something out of these videos and you're a subscriber, please hit the like button. Even if you're not a subscriber, hit the like button and hopefully you'll join us for more of these. I'll have something great for you next week. So until then, everybody happy painting and go and experiment. So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.